One decision, one moment, one wrong choice almost destroyed his entire life. He was just seconds away from doing something that could send him to prison and change his future forever. Today's story is intense. It's about pressure, bad friends, fear, and a decision that could have ruined everything. But it's also about awareness and change. And today we are here with the person who lived that moment. Thank you for being here. Thank you. It's not easy to talk about this, but I think it's important because many people don't understand how easy it is to make a bad decision and how fast your life can change. Let's start from the beginning. What was your life like before that moment? My life was normal. I was not a bad person. I was not in serious trouble. I was just a regular young guy trying to figure things out. I lived with my parents. I went to school. I had some friends. And I had dreams. But I didn't have a clear direction. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with my life. And that made me feel a little lost. But I didn't think it was a big problem at the time. At first, everything was simple. I had a small group of friends, and we did normal things. We talked, we laughed, we spent time together, but slowly things started to change. I started to spend more time with different people, people who were more rebellious, people who didn't care much about rules, people who liked taking risks. And at the beginning, it felt exciting. I remember thinking, these guys are different. They are not afraid. And when you are young, that looks attractive. You don't see the danger, you see the freedom. So it didn't feel wrong at the beginning. No, not at all. That's the dangerous part. Bad decisions don't feel bad at the beginning. They feel fun. They feel exciting. They make you feel alive. The more time I spent with them, the more I changed. Not in one day, not suddenly, but little by little. My way of thinking changed. My priorities changed. I stopped caring about school. I stopped thinking about my future. I only cared about the moment, about having fun, about not feeling bored. And they started to introduce me to things I never did before. Small things at first, nothing too serious, just breaking small rules, doing things we were not supposed to do. And every time we did something like that, nothing bad happened. So my brain started to think, this is okay. Nothing happens. It's not a big deal. And that is how it starts. Not with a big mistake, but with the small ones that feel harmless. When did things start to get more serious? It was a process. But there was a moment where everything started to change. One day, we were all together, just talking, and one of them said something like, we should do something bigger. And at first, I didn't understand what he meant. But then he started talking about stealing, not something small, something serious. And I remember that moment very clearly because inside me, I felt something different. It was not excitement, it was fear, real fear. Because I knew this was not the same as before. This was not just breaking a small rule, this was something that could have real consequences. What did you think in that moment? I was confused. Part of me said, this is wrong. Don't do this. But another part of me said, if you say no, they will think you are weak. You will lose your friends. You don't belong here. And that is the problem. Sometimes the fear of losing people is stronger than the fear of doing something wrong. That night, I couldn't stop thinking. I went home, but my mind was not calm. I was thinking about everything, about my parents, about my future, about what could happen, but also about my friends, about being accepted, about not feeling alone. And I asked myself many questions. What if I do it and nothing happens? What if this is just one time? What if I'm overthinking? But I also thought, what if I get caught? What if I lose everything? What if this changes my life forever? And that was the first time I really understood something. A bad decision is not just about the moment, it's about the consequences. So, what happened next? Did you decide? Not immediately. That's the thing. Big decisions don't always happen in 1 second, they grow inside you. The pressure grows, the confusion grows, and you start to move slowly in one direction, even if you are not sure. A few days later, they came to me again. And this time it was real. They had a plan. They knew what they wanted to do. They knew where. They knew how. And they asked me directly, "Are you in or not?" That moment I will never forget. Everything became silent. Even if there were people around me, even if there was noise, inside me it was completely silent. Because I knew this was the moment. Not tomorrow, not later, now. And in that moment, I felt two completely different emotions at the same time: fear and pressure. Fear of doing something wrong, and pressure to say yes. And I realized something very important. Sometimes the most dangerous moments in your life is when you feel you have to choose between being accepted or doing what is right. And what did you say? I said yes. And that yes almost destroyed my life. We have to talk about what happened next: the plan, the moment, the fear, and how close he was to losing everything. This moment was critical. One question, one answer, and everything changed. You said yes, and that decision almost ruined your life. So tell us, what happened next? After I said yes, everything started to feel different. Before that moment, it was just an idea, just words, just something we talked about. But when I said yes, it became real. And that is when fear started to grow stronger inside me. Because now I was not just thinking about it, I was part of it. They started to explain the plan in more detail: where we could go, what we would take, how we could do it, and what time. They spoke like it was something simple, like it was just another normal day. They were calm, even excited, but I was not. Inside me, everything felt heavy. My mind was full of questions, full of doubts, full of fear, but I didn't say anything. And this is something very important. When you are in a group like that, it is very hard to speak against it. Everyone seems confident, everyone seems sure. And if you are the only one with doubts, you feel weak. So instead of saying, "This is wrong," you stay quiet. So even when you knew something was wrong, you didn't stop it. No. And that is one of the biggest mistakes I made. I thought staying quiet was neutral, but it was not. Staying quiet was the same as agreeing. The day came faster than I expected. I remember waking up that morning and everything felt strange. It didn't feel like a normal day, it felt heavy. I couldn't relax, I couldn't enjoy anything. Even simple things felt different because in the back of my mind, I knew what was coming. I tried to act normal at home. I talked to my parents. I ate. I did small things. But inside, I was not present. I was thinking about the plan, about what could happen, about the consequences. And I remember looking at my parents and thinking, if something goes wrong, this could hurt them too. And that thought made everything even heavier because suddenly it was not just about me anymore. It was about everyone around me. At night, we met. Everything was ready. The plan was clear. And when I saw them, I could feel the energy. They were focused, serious, ready. And I realized there was no turning back easily. We started moving, step by step. Everything felt slow, but at the same time, very fast. My heart was beating hard. My hands were cold. My mind was not clear. I was not thinking about success. I was thinking about fear. And then we arrived. What did you feel in that exact moment? Silence. Not outside, inside. Everything stopped for a second. And in that second, I saw everything clearly. Not the plan, not the money, not the excitement. I saw the consequences. I saw myself getting caught. I saw my parents being disappointed. I saw my future disappearing. I saw everything I could lose in one moment. And then I understood something very important. The real decision was not when I said yes, the real decision was now. Because until that moment, I could still choose. I could still stop. I could still walk away. And I asked myself one question: is this who I want to be? And for the first time in that whole situation, I was honest with myself. And the answer was no. I stepped back. It was a small movement, but for me, it was everything. I didn't say anything at first. I just moved away slowly. And one of them looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" And that moment was very hard because I knew they were watching me. I knew they were judging me. And I knew that if I said no, everything would change. But I said it anyway. I can't do this. They got angry. Some of them laughed. Some of them said I was weak. Some of them said I was scared. And they were right. I was scared. But none of them. I was scared of losing my life because of one bad decision. And I remember walking away alone. My heart was still beating fast. But this time it felt different. It felt like relief, like I escaped something dangerous. That night, I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel proud. I just felt calm. And that calm feeling was something I didn't have for a long time. And what happened after that? After that, everything changed. Not in a perfect way, but in a real way. I stopped seeing those people. I stayed alone for some time. And that was difficult because losing your group feels like losing your identity. But little by little, I started to rebuild my life. I started to think more about my future. I started to make better decisions. Not perfect decisions, but better ones. And here's the most important lesson: one decision can change your life, but you always have another chance to choose again. And also, bad decisions don't start big, they start small. And bad environments make bad decisions feel normal. So you have to be careful, not only with what you do, but with who you are with. This story is powerful because it shows how close someone can be to losing everything and how one moment of awareness can change everything. All right, guys, this is not just a story. This was a warning because maybe you are not in that situation right now, but one day you might be. And in that moment, you will have to choose. Comment right now. Have you ever felt pressured to do something wrong? What could you do in that situation? Comment right now. If this story made you think or helped you in any way, like this video, please. Comment your thoughts. Share it with someone who needs this, and subscribe for more real stories and real English. Because here, we don't just learn English, we learn how to make better decisions in life. And remember, one bad decision can destroy your life, but one good decision can save it. See you in the next episode.